Hey, you thought you were about to listen to the full episode, and that's not. This is the blurb at the beginning.
Ooh,
suckers!
Blurb at the beginning. Take
Beacon
that.
House blurb. Beacon House
Coming
blurb.
at you live in October. We're gonna give
Calling
you an
all
episode.
home wreckers and homemakers.
Stop it.
We're gonna give you an episode.
Oh.
It's coming up. But first, we need to let you guys know, if you heard our last episode, talked to Dustin from Frightworks here in Knoxville, Tennessee, out on Emory Road, best haunted house around. And we promised you guys we were going to let you know when we're going to be there. Well, we have discovered it, guys. We found out, didn't we?
Yes. We're going November the 2nd. We're going the
October the 8th.
Monday, November the 2nd.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. We're going October the 18th.
Spencer's so bad right
Sunday.
October the 18th.
18th.
At 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Ooh,
Sunday. And we may go another time. We may go later in the month again if we can. We'll tell you what.
That's
if
your
you show up
Beacon
on
House guarantee.
the first thing you guys got to do is show up on the 18th, 8 p.m. Sunday night. You're not doing anything. It's a Sunday. It's not open late. You don't have to be up that early. There's a pandemic. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go to Frightworks.
Let's go to Frightworks.
So come meet us at Frightworks in Knoxville, Sunday, October 18th, 8 p.m. We might be there a little earlier if you want to get there, drink a little coffee with us, something like that. But regardless, that's where we're going to go. We're going to go through. So buy your tickets, get in line, virtual
Bring a
line.
jacket.
Bring a jacket. It could be chilly, but it's going to be gorgeous October weather. You guys show up there, Beacon House, Frightworks, Sunday, October 18th.
Oh, hey. Bring a mask. Bring a mask.
And get ready to drink Pedal Java coffee.
Yeah, there'll be Pedal Java coffee there, too. Hit up Pedal Java, get that coffee, bring a mask.
Why did you just... All right, white boy.
I could have been somebody.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's when I realized that I had actually... Boo! I got him again.
Did that really scare you? Were you scared by that?
It didn't scare. Well, I felt my skin jump. I didn't think I was
felt
scared.
your
but
skin
maybe-
jump?
Yeah.
What do you mean your skin?
Like when your skin separates from bone and you feel alone in your home.
Yuck.
Welcome to Beacon House Podcast, everybody. I'm Hunter.
I'm Casey.
I'm Spence.
And I feel really uncomfortable that
Something's
you took
going
the
on.
reins.
Yeah, what are you doing there? You want to talk us into this episode, Hunter?
Talk you into it. All I can do is talk you out of your love for a certain movie that we'll talk about at some point.
Oh, God.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll get to that.
Okay, spoilers. Yeah, we just tried to record this and we had to start over, so that's why we're anxious to get. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm revealing it. There's no secrets. Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Casey.
I'm really curious how it was editing Blood Dad X. And
I did edit a lot of it on the plane, and
Did you enjoy our banter when you weren't in here when we were talking to you?
dude, I'm going to tell you this. I will say no. I did enjoy it, but here's another thing too. I was editing it like elbow to elbow with a complete stranger on this plane in a mask,
And
like
laughing, I hope.
Well, kind of, but I was like, the way you have to move your arm on this laptop to like draw the circles and cut things out, and like I couldn't get my elbows out, so I was having to be like, I'm sitting there like a typewriter hands. You guys should see how I'm doing my hands right now. I look like a pony.
Spencer's
You look
doing
like a praying
typewriter
mantis.
hands.
Yeah, and so and I would laugh, and again, the person sitting next to me didn't give a shit at all, and I'd go, ha ha ha, I better cut that, and they were just like, do you have to be doing that right now? But I did get most of it edited at 31,000 feet or something like that.
Was there a
Nightmare at
lady
30,000
three
feet.
rows up and to the left that was wearing a red dress?
No, there was not.
Ah, it's been so cool if Grant called that.
There was actually nobody on the plane in it. Does anybody fly in a dress? That's weird. I don't know.
If you want to join the Mile High Club, you better.
Hey, wait, what is that? Does that mean fucking?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry. What's the Mile High Club?
It's when you go up and you meet Joe Biden and he sniffs your hair.
Shit, that was good.
So anyways, Halloween.
Halloween coming up, guys.
This is-
October. We I don't know if we can fake another conversation about the weather, but the weather's
can't.
been gorgeous.
The weather has been nice.
It's
How's
been
the
nice
weather?
fall. Have you guys had a pumpkin spice latte yet? Are you guys basic yet?
Yeah, I had one and then I had to stop because I'm doing a new diet.
Oh no, I broke my diet to have one because
Yeah.
they've got a brand new one at
Was it worth
Capybara.
it?
Yes, it was so worth
The
it.
one at K-Brew uses pumpkin pie filling.
Yes.
And it's so good.
Yeah, K-Brew has a phenomenal pumpkin latte. Capybara has a phenomenal pumpkin latte. Probably a couple other places.
Yeah.
But ooh, dude, Joe Muggs used to have a.
Joe Muggs is dead.
You used to
They're
make.
coming back in
They're coming
January.
next year. But
You,
no
Hunter,
pumpkin
used to
spice
make
for
a pumpkin spice latte for me there that would give you diabetes.
you. Yeah, well,
Well, it's because he put his dick in it.
it's okay. I've already been rehired. They can't not hire me when they find out about that.
You'd see Spencer coming and just go bloop. Drop it on in.
You know what?
Yeah, you know the bloop noise we've talked about before?
I'm here for it. It tasted so good.
He put a little hair
Put a little
on top.
sugar in my tank.
He put a little hair on top. Boink. It was nice.
I like to give of myself when I do
Clearly.
work for others.
Yeah, you really gave of yourself. You're a disgusting pig. You know that. That latte was so good. Just in case you out there in podcast land were thinking you needed anything other than this podcast to make your October fantastic, we were going to offer some suggestions on cool Halloween books, movies, media, the whole 9 yards to kind of get you started on Halloween. And comic books. I hear there's a very popular one out right now or maybe a very important one that we need.
Important, maybe. Not. I don't
We'll
know.
see.
We'll get there.
How about it's important, but let's make it popular? How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways,
But first, we need to dissect a movie that we've all been. It's been coming for a little while. It is. I'm thinking of ending things.
wait.
And,
Hold on. Sorry. Why would you dissect it if it's empty?
Please don't. Please don't. We don't have a lot of time. Please
You're
stop
killing
it.
me. You're killing me.
We have 30 minutes.
We're killing me. Like I tell people,
Please.
you're an intellectual, and then you come here and you just, you know what? Pull your dick out of the coffee, okay? But anyway, yeah, we talked about it on our book club episode. I encourage you to go to listen to that if you haven't heard it with our friend Leslie. And the book was phenomenal. We all loved the book. It had a crazy twist ending. You're about to have a ton of spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, click off now.
Spoiler alert.
But we're going to get into the movie. The movie came out on Netflix a little while ago, and it's very, very different. And it's very mixed bag.
Not really. It's actually not different. It's actually really based on the book. It's pretty close until the end. And then Charlie Kaufman takes a shit on you and goes, "I can do whatever I want because I'm smarter than you. I wear a scarf in the summer."
I don't entirely disagree with that. I just found some things in it that I didn't expect. Anyway, Casey, you go. Why don't you lead us off? Give us your take on the movie and the parts you liked, the parts you didn't like, and especially you guys were talking a minute ago about the color effect. That shit went right over my head.
Oh, really?
I texted you when I was watching it. I
know.
I texted Spencer. I was like, "Man, when the movie starts and you see her sitting on the side of the road having an inner dialogue, and she's wearing like a bright yellow dress." Jacket, big red hat, big red gloves, and then she gets in the car, and by the time they get to the house, her jacket's already dark, and her hat's, she's not wearing a hat anymore. The jacket's like a blue color, and so it's like the first layer of like your your self-confidence or self-esteem being destroyed by depression.
I didn't even see that. And that movies like this, just like Hereditary and Midsommar, are easily too smart for me. That's one reason that I watch them and I go, nah. And the first time I saw this one, I had the same lukewarm reaction I had to Hereditary. I was like, meh. And then smart people talked about it, and I go, well, wait, I must be missing something. I go back, I try to learn. See, I didn't catch all that color. I know everyone's appearance kind of changed throughout the movie. And I kind of understood it. I knew he was throwing clues, but having already read the book, I kind of just brushed a lot of that off. And I tell you this, watching this movie, I thought a lot about what do people think about this that haven't read the book? How could they possibly understand it?
Or like it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, or like it.
Go on.
It might turn them away from the book, which bums me out.
Yeah, honestly.
'Cause Ian Reed deserves everyone to buy that book.
Yeah, if you've seen this movie and you thought it was a turd or you didn't like it,
Read the book.
Please read the book because the book is badass.
I appreciated just with to that point, the car ride stuff where the aspect ratio was like squeezing you in, like claustrophobic by nature, and just the essentially one camera, 3 or 4 shots for the entire movie section that's car ride. But that didn't bother me because I had an idea of where it was going. I think if I didn't know, I would have gotten like 15 minutes into that and been like, this is
I thought it was so long.
Awful.
I thought the car ride scenes were so long. And like they even though I knew where it was going, they bored me to death. And again, that may not be boring. Like I didn't even notice the aspect ratio, like you said. To me, it was just like, ugh, God, this is just boring. And maybe I'm definitely plagued with short attention span. So again, I'm at a disadvantage with movies like this, slow burn movies that you appreciate, directors that you appreciate. I'm obviously at a disadvantage when it comes to that stuff, but I thought the car ride stuff was super boring, you know. And later again, I went back and I watched some other people review this movie, and they talked about how, for instance, the male protagonist in the movie, how he was always quoting people to her, and that was obviously like that was indicative of his low self-esteem, that he didn't think he had anything worth presenting, so he had to present things he had learned from other people, trying to impress her the whole time, quoting things, and you know what I mean. Like she wasn't flattered by any of his own thoughts. Anytime he said, "Well, this is so," she would go, "No, not really." But anyway.
Well, and also I appreciated right at the very beginning, she's in the car and she goes, "I'm thinking of ending things," in her head. And he goes, "Did you say something?"
I love the way they did that.
Almost as like they're inside the same mind. And it's like your subconscious saying something and your conscious picking up on it and being like, "Wait, what?" And
at that point I thought, oh man, they're gonna give us everything we wanted. Like this movie has been made for people who read the book, and they're gonna start foreshadowing all the stuff we already know is coming up, and it's gonna be fan service. It's gonna be a big payoff. Nope.
They didn't even do the bedroom scene when she was a little girl and there was someone outside her window.
Yeah.
Like they completely skipped that.
And the driving instructor.
And they very little touched on the phone. They did the phone thing maybe twice in the entire time, but it was like in the book, it was happening constantly.
Yeah.
It was all the way up until it got to the school. Even the Dairy Queen scene, which was it was called something else in the movie. But the Dairy Queen scene was creepy and awkward and uncomfortable, and it was perfect, exactly the way I'd imagined it. And that was the thing. Everything leading up to that end was exactly how I imagined it in the book.
Was it really?
Yeah, it matched it.
A lot of it's different for me.
Really?
I think the way people looked in the movie was different than what I expected, but the aesthetics were perfect. Like the barn being out back, like Ian Reed painted that picture, and that's kind of what I pictured. Even the house setup was very similar to what I thought it would look like.
Interesting.
But it's just the little things like missing on the basement. Like the basement scene was so
disappointing.
Big disappointment.
Yeah, in the book, it's so creepy and like, well, I don't want to take this from Spencer, but like he said the first recording of this, you said a lot of things about the symbolism of that in the book, and they didn't really touch on that.
Yeah, some kind of child abuse is what it sounded like it was hinting at.
Yeah, and then they get to the end. She goes into the school, and that's when it like kicks off in the book. Like that's when I couldn't stop reading it. I couldn't stop listening to it. I was
the hair on my arm was standing up.
I was sitting in my car already home after a long trip, just like, I got to sit here for the next 45 minutes and hear how this ends. And it was awesome. It was incredible. It was dark. It was sad. It was creepy. And in this one, they gave me a fucking dance number.
Yep.
They gave me an interpreted dance number, and then some old guy taking off his clothes in a truck, and then a musical number at the end. And I was like, no, what? Don't do that. Don't do that.
It honestly, like when I was watching it, it felt like, I'm going to speak for him. It felt like Charlie Coughdrop was directing the movie and got to that point and went, I don't know if I can actually do a horror film. So what if we just get artsy? What if we just don't? Let's just not do it.
He definitely took liberties, and I don't know if Ian Reed had much say in it or not, or if the producers were like, well, you sold us the rights, so we'll do what we want with it.
Yeah, I'd be curious if
I would love to get him on here just to talk about the book, since, he, I guess,
supposedly he's got another book coming out. He's working on another book. It's supposed to be another big one. Yeah, man, I wonder what happened. Like, I wonder, and I'm gonna say some positive things about it that I had to kind of go back and I had to put on different eyes, man, to see it. But like, I wonder at what point who said. I wonder if Ian Reed goes, "Hey, man, I kind of wanted to tell another version of this. Do you think you could put this in the movie?" Or if the guy goes, "I don't like your ending. I'm going to put my own ending in." I wonder who had creative control, or if it was a collaborative thing. If somebody said, we didn't know enough about what was going on internally with the guy, we need to see more about what happened in his head.
Like before. A producer said something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Something. But you basically, the ending of the movie gives you a total internal roller coaster ride through the psyche of the actual character that's about to kill himself, rather than his different personalities and different characters. You know what I mean? Like in the book, well, I'll go ahead and say it.
Before you do.
Yeah.
When you said positive, because we were talking about how bad the ending is, which I think we all agree, for the most part, A positive that specifically sprung to mind, because it was related to what I was saying when the first recording failed. At the beginning, when they're introducing the driving by showing you the sky, it did two things. Second is what I remember just now. The first, in showing, like hinting at the fracturing of the mind, is it shows you tree branches, which can be whatever angle, and it shows you power lines. And then it goes back and forth. And as these things start crossing, immediately I was like, the perspective of those don't make sense for the angle that they're driving at. Like, these things are there because your mind is, populating the space that it's in with these things, but just like in a dreamscape or in daydreaming, they're not solid. Like, they're just at weird angles that shouldn't be for the direction you're going. And what was an exclamation point for that was the bird that flew by. If you guys didn't notice, it didn't fly off screen. It got to the edge of the screen and blipped out. Just disappeared.
Yeah, because the whole thing is not tangible. The whole thing is a bizarre,
all of it's fading,
depressed fever dream. So, yeah.
But I think he did that stuff well, is what I want to say. That's good. Like, that was really well done.
There's a lot of smart things hidden in this movie. I just didn't pick up on them because I was looking for the story from the book. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth adding this. When I read the book, I kind of had my own movie going in my head, which was very literal because I didn't know that it was all just kind of imaginary. Mm-hmm. Spoiler. I thought they really did go to these places and do all this stuff, and I didn't understand till the end. So it was solidified in my mind as like a much more of like a movie that would be directed by somebody else, where they actually go places and do things, and scary things show up on the screen, and one thing leads to another. And then, come to find out, and I guess maybe they directed it in the way where they just assumed everybody had read the book and they knew none of it was real. So they started maybe trying to make it, like you said, like the bird stops and doesn't fly. The perspectives don't make sense because they aren't real.
Yeah.
But basically, like I said, I initially could not stand it. I think it took way too long. I was bored with the car scenes, and the ending came up, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I had a hard time processing it. I was very, very depressed by it. Like, it affected me, and I'll get to that. I'll get to why I think this is one of the scariest movies ever made. I'm gonna get into that.
Sure.
Maybe not just the movie, but the story. To me, is far scarier than anything Hereditary or Midsommar or anything like that. I think it's very disturbing. I'll get to why I think. So I went and watched reviews of the movie by people way smarter than me that kind of dissected it, and they even go further back into like Kaufman's vocabulary and like what he really does. I'm not tons of familiar with him. I know he did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which was
in the mind of John Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich. Neither of which were very impressive to me. I mean, I'm sure there's brilliant things
adaptation.
in them. They didn't do much. But anyway, here's my thoughts on I'm thinking of ending things, and I'll leave it at this. First off, it's existentialism, which is tough to pin down. And I used to read books on existentialism a long time ago, and I'm not even sure what I learned even now, But it's different than the book. The movie is totally an experiment in existentialism. It was more of the book was more of just like a mystery with a surprise ending. And that doesn't make it worse than the movie, but it's cheaper. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it more, but it's cheaper and easier. The movie was definitely a lot harder to frame it in because it was totally existentialism. I do think the guy got out of the truck at the end. I think he got out of the truck and went back into the school and still killed himself in the school. And you just see the truck at the end like he never left, basically. Because in the movie, you never actually see the guy kill himself. And that's when it stopped being like a horror movie and started being more of this weird expose. But regardless, he never left the school. I think that was the point. He was going to go home and he didn't. And that was his final resting place. Here's what I want to say I think is scary about this story. And some of this is weird for me to talk about too. Here's what I think. I think you find things scary based on the monster that's under your own bed. And by that, what I mean is whatever you find threatening, whatever has scared you, when you see that in a movie, you're going to go, that's scary. That's scary. If it's death, if you have anxiety, if it's jump scares, if you're afraid if you're nervous and you don't like people startling you, that's going to make you. So this is a movie about suicide and isolation. And I'm here to tell you, this is much scarier if you're older. You know what I mean? And you live by yourself, and you've possibly battled depression. You see where I'm going with all this? Those quiet moments you spend alone are very different than if you live with other people or friends, or you're married or whatever, or you still got a lot of family around you. And basically, like, I see this old guy being kind of like, that is one of the scariest possible outcomes for me. You know what I mean? Is to just go, fuck, what if it turns out that nothing good ever happens and you just can't take it and you kill yourself? That, to me, because that shit, and here's why here I want to say why that's scary, the horror of isolation, that happens all the time. Suicide rates amongst the elderly are the highest among anybody. Old people kill themselves because they just have nothing to live for anymore. So this is a real thing. Like the monster that comes up out of the ocean, or the demon that comes in through the doll or whatever, those things don't really happen. But this happens all the time. And the horror of that, to me, is very, very, the gravity of that. Case?
I absolutely agree that is terrifying. However, it does not excuse a dance number and a musical number.
We'll get to that.
Sure. Okay.
No, you're right. You're totally right. And I think again, I don't know what Coffin was trying to do with this, and I don't prefer it to the ending in the book. I prefer the book better because it had a gritty, actual kind of psychological horror type feel. The movie did not. The movie had this weird, like, again, it was just existentialism. It wasn't really scary.
It had a build up. Like the book had a build up and paid off in the end, and the movie had a build up and then kind of took a hard left, and nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
So the things in this movie that are terrible are like the fear of being unimportant, being unable to impress somebody you love, being unable to escape past trauma. If you notice when they were in the house and the parents kept changing age, and the mom was obviously sick, and the horror of being messed up by your family. And then even though the guy was like a brilliant scientist, he still failed and he went crazy and he developed all this social anxiety because he had to care for his parents, which were fucked up. You know, it doesn't really say what was wrong with him, but it keeps alluding to his parents fucked him up. And even though he was like a PhD or a rocket scientist or something like that, he wound up just being this janitor that couldn't communicate with anybody. And the closest thing he had to actual love was somebody that he almost asked out back when he was in college.
Yep.
And even that, this guy's life is so empty that's even the most prevalent thing in his mind now, the day he's about to kill himself. From 40 years ago, 60 years ago, however old the guy is. That's so sad.
Yeah, the coping mechanism of him like looking at the people that he recognized from the school as well and distancing himself from that by saying they didn't
way
go
scarier
anywhere.
Than monsters.
Yeah.
I think. Because it could happen to any of us, sadly. I hope it doesn't, but just think about that. And I said that also too because I know great people that have gone crazy. I know really wonderful people that were very talented or very hardworking and had a lot going for them that just snapped one day. Like some of them smoked too much pot. Sometimes it was drugs. Sometimes it was triggered by trauma. But sometimes people just lose their ability to cope and interact in society. And like one day you're a functioning adult and you've got chances. And the next day, literally the best you're going to be is a janitor. Like this guy. So stuff like that happens. I almost can't believe they made this movie because it's so horrific. In a way. Like these are the parts of society nobody talks about. This is like the dark side of life. Like the back nine, you know what I mean? Like after you hit 40 and it's going down and you start going to a lot more funerals, you develop health problems.
Yeah.
You watch your family die, you know, like these are real things. And we don't still, as a society, we just don't talk about that stuff. We just go, yeah, you know, but this movie is full of like a guy that's all he is left over after a life of that shit.
I want you to get to the dance number then because not to discredit what you're saying, but I got all of that from the movie and I recognized what they were doing and agreed with it. Like Casey said, I found that horrifying. And I appreciated the artistry of the dance number ending and all that, but I still hated it.
So the first, the dance number with the two people that I guess become like an idyllic version of him and her that are doing this dance and whatever.
I should say the play at the end when it segued into that is
because it's two different things.
Yeah,
there's two musical.
The first one I was okay with.
There's two musical. See, the first one bothered me the most, where they wind up dead on the floor in the gym.
It's like a dance number about like a possibility of, like I took from it either it happened or it's a possibility of like a thing he has where he's like in love with a girl or in love with like a high school girl. I don't know. Yeah. The way I took from it is the janitor comes in, kills the cowboy, and then takes the girl.
Yeah.
And so it's like this thing of like him wanting to kill this guy because I don't know.
It's very hard to understand, and that's kind of the problem I had with it too. It's like I kind of I get this could be interpreted a whole bunch of different ways, but I kind of want to know what he really means here, because every possible interpretation is really depressing.
Yeah.
Here's what I typed in my phone.
Sorry.
I said the ending, while frustrating and confusing, is actually great and fills in a lot of gaps from the book. This sad old guy has been wanting to kill himself for some time. But and this is where the pig comes in. He was afraid that the pain wouldn't end after death. And that's where you see the pig comforting him in the end. Even though it's a cartoon, it gets him back out of the truck and says, come on, you're fine. It's going to be okay. You've done everything right. It kind of comforts him. The only thing that stopped this guy from killing himself up till now is that he thinks the pain won't end. So this guy's in so much pain. Here's what I think it means. And this, including the dance number. And I think it means that, I think what the director was trying to say, in each of our lives, however spectacular or mundane, it kind of becomes our own little musical, our own little show. At the end of your life, you look back on all the characters that were in your life, and it's this crescendo of a thing. Obviously, the musical number was a metaphor for like a reflection of everybody he ever had. And probably before he kills himself, he's thinking about everybody he ever knew, everybody that was his parents, the girl, the whole 9 yards, trying to look back on his life and find anything that had meaning to him, including a girl that he never got to be with. Fuck. That's heavy, man. You know, the reason I think the movie is traumatizing and realistically scary is because a lot of people do end up like this. Suicide rates amongst the elderly are high. I already said that. But I don't think it was as effective as the book. But when you look at it as a completely different thing and just go, what are they really trying to show me? It was this kind of beautiful, sad, bizarre crescendo of this terribly sad life that just didn't work out. And I think it was supposed to kind of be just like I don't know, the guy when he goes out to the truck, I was like, fuck, he'd already reflected on everything and now it's over.
Sure.
And then you just see the truck sitting there with snow covering it. Like he walked back into that school. And then if you read the book, you know what he did. Mm-hmm. And I think this is just kind of explaining what went through his mind those last couple hours, other than the characters walking around in the school, you know. I appreciated the perspective. Again, I'm not necessarily defending the movie. As far as an experience, the book is way better. I agree.
Way, way better.
And I was totally thrown off and pretty pissed off the first time I saw it. But when I went back and watched it, I was like, I kind of get what was going on here. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I know that...
I don't think it's appropriate
to
as
me,
an
it's
adaptation.
very scary.
I feel like in 5 to 6 years, somebody else will pick it up to do a remake, and it'll probably be better then.
That'd be interesting to see. I would watch any number of adaptations of that book.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Just to wrap this thing up, who do you think would have done a better job directing it?
Ooh, I don't know.
I know.
Ari Aster?
Hell yeah.
I thought you were going to say M. Night Shyamalan.
No.
Actually, maybe. I don't know.
M. Night might have done an okay job. I think Ari Aster would have kept with the artsy part of it, but taken out the dance numbers and made it a little more punchy at the end.
wanted to see something scarier, like something.
I wanted to see the last 30 minutes of Hereditary again.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I don't think it was appropriate, because I think you're 100% on the money with your read of the movie, and I love that about it. And that's also why I try to read books after, just if I can help it. But it's, as a fan of the original book, I look at it and I go, you just did like an awesome abstract examination of all the things Spencer said, and you're already a talented filmmaker, so why didn't you just take inspiration from the novel since you read it and then make your own story instead of adapting 80% of the novel?
I think there's a certain cruelty to all this stuff. Like, I kind of feel like Charlie Kaufman was like, I don't know that you need to make movies about stuff like that, like really blowing that stuff up, because that's very depressing.
For sure.
Like, I even feel like Ian Reed left a lot of that shit out of the, like, why would somebody kill themselves? He had all those italicized parts saying things like, we'll figure out what he was actually dealing with if you read them in reverse. But he never really actually just said, hey, this is what old depression looks like, and it always ends in suicide, and get ready because it's going to be you. And like, you know what I mean? But I feel like Charlie Kaufman there was a certain cruelty to his adaptation of the story that was kind of like, to me, it was very traumatic. But again, to each his own. I would definitely say, in summary, the book is a must-have. The movie, I could take it or leave it.
Beautiful disaster. Don't watch the movie. It's trash. But it's well made.
You know who would do a great job of directing this movie? Flanagan.
Yep.
Because Haunting of Bly Manor's coming out Friday. Ooh.
Talk about that.
Look at that segue.
Can you imagine if that guy directed that movie?
You say Friday, so that will be when people hear this podcast. That'll be tomorrow or tonight at midnight.
Tonight at midnight.
Fucking A.
Thursday midnight. It'll drop.
Yep.
And I have Friday off.
Is it going to come out one at a time, or is it going to drop all at once?
All at once. Netflix doesn't do one at a time.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
all
good.
at once.
What do we know about it? I know that it's coming out. Do we know?
Do you know what novel it's
It's-
based or inspired by?
Yeah. I
No.
do. It's
No.
Okay, tell him.
As the Screw Turns.
Turning of the Screw.
As
Turning
the,
of the.
as
I
the
don't.
Screw Turns.
Okay, I got it
Hold
wrong.
on.
then. I don't know. It's the old book about a screw that's spoopy. One of us is wrong, and one of us is
So
right.
is it going to have nothing to do with the first season?
Yeah, they're doing American Horror Story style.
Okay. So anthology.
I was wrong.
Which one? So it's a
The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. It is
Okay.
a book from, it's an 1898 horror novella. But actually, there's a movie that just came out this year called The Turning that had the kid from Stranger Things in it. That's the same story.
Oh,
Interesting.
dope. Okay.
And that movie, let's see, Kate Mandel takes a job as a nanny for two young orphans at an isolated Gothic mansion in the Maine countryside. She soon learns that the children, Miles and Flora, are emotionally distant and unstable. When strange events start to plague Kate and the siblings, she begins to suspect the estate's dark corridors are home to a malevolent entity.
So that's where this season draws its core inspiration, but it's not an adaptation of it, is my understanding from what they said.
Yeah, because they're not even pulling up The Haunting of Bly Manor in this as like a, let's see. And I know also The Haunting of Bly Manor. So in the first season of Haunting of Hill House,
Yeah.
the ghosts in the background that you see,
Right,
like you
right.
see
Hidden.
ghosts like hidden.
Little like
In this one, they are apparently going to have their own story. And also in this one, there's apparently a couple other short stories that he really loved that he's going to make the characters have to go through. So it's going to be like this weird kind of like anthology with an overarching story going on.
Nice.
This sounds so
Haunting of
dope.
Bly Manor is a blah, blah, blah.
And I can imagine it's going to kind of be piggybacked on the success of Haunting of Hill House, which was fantastic and widely loved, and that gives them just more. Now let me ask you: let's do predictions. Do you guys think they're going to live up to the hype, or is it going to be the sophomore curse where they're going to fall on their ass on the second one? Never were they so good at first they can't possibly top it?
After watching Doctor Sleep and Hush, which are the movie he made before and after Haunting of Hill House,
Yeah,
no way.
think we're good.
It's going to be
I
great.
I think we're good. I think he's such a perfectionist that he wouldn't release it if he wasn't good with it.
And the Hush wasn't that the same girl that played Theo in the
Yeah.
first one? Yeah, she wasn't attractive or anything.
And all those characters from the first season are coming back in this season as different people. Oh, goodness.
That lady was so hot. Anyway, sorry. I crush on movie people really bad.
Oh man.
Like I'll start watching a movie and by the end of it, I'll be like, I love you. I love you.
I will say
Goodness gracious.
the dad, who I found out recently was the kid in E.T.,
Yeah,
Henry
that's
Thomas or something like that.
mind blowing.
He's back in it, but he won't have the blue contacts, so that's going to throw me off.
That'd be a little weird.
So they are going to have a lot of the same actors, just playing different people.
Yeah.
Just like Horror
Yeah.
Story. Okay.
Like-
Speaking of that, have you guys seen any of Nurse Ratched or Ratched?
Don't want to.
Nah, I'm
You don't
okay.
want to? How
It
come?
looks-
I don't really like Sarah Paulson that much.
I like her. What do you got?
I don't want to because I know what they're doing, and
It's so just like American Horror Story.
that's what I
It's
hate about
so
it.
much like it. It's Ryan Murphy directing. It's the same people he always uses. It's just kind of like, I'm not shitting on it. It's really, really, I know a lot of people that are like, whoa, it's the best thing I've ever seen. But if you've watched multiple seasons of American Horror Story, it's not going to feel like anything new necessarily,
I hate what American Horror Story became, and Ratchet looks like that turned up to 11. Everything is just brightly colored and super garish on purpose on a visual level, and the story and the characters are as cynical and evil and twisted as possible so that they can go, I love Lucy, and Lucy loves suffering. Welcome to our TV show. It's just stupid. That's exactly what it feels like.
Dang.
Whoa.
All right.
There's no intellectual meat to be had from watching bad people suffer and good people suffer more because life is hard, the end. You're not creative, bud. You just, took your baggage and wrote a story about it
That's fair.
and made a TV show.
That's totally fair.
Also, American Horror Story Hotel is hot garbage.
Have you
Murder
seen
House is
1984?
amazing.
I really liked 1984.
That's when I started. I haven't finished it yet.
I like it a lot. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny like in a slasher Friday the 13th kind of a way.
Yeah, I saw the dude get murdered in the showers, and I haven't watched it since then.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you're telling a story and you have a point to it, it's worth people's time. That's what we're learning from this episode.
We'll see.
Well, also, that new Tom Holland movie came out, The Devil,
Oh,
all the time.
Whoa, what a fucking depressing
Have you watched it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I won't say anything else about it.
I've heard it's a gut punch.
Well, I will say this. I expected more.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be more like, whoa, and it just kind of turned out to be sort of the stuff you're describing about movies that have no. I feel like you'll hate it.
Well,
because it's kind of like there's
I've heard
not
it's
really
just bad people all the time. Like it's just all bad people.
All bad people.
it depends on how
doing bad things, horrible things happening to bad people. Just like what you just described is exactly the Tom. But the performances
the visual
are good.
part of it matters. That's why I brought that up, like the garish colors and everything, the I Love Lucy aesthetic that AHS has. That's why I brought that up for that reason, because if it's done right, like Cormac McCarthy novels are about good people suffering at the hands of bad people, and then you find out the good people aren't good because people suck. That's what Cormac McCarthy books
Especially
are.
The Road.
The Road.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
they're amazing. They're amazing, but they're not like lulling you in with this fun, like lollygaggy, look at my nice dress and look at how proud we are of who we are. And
kind of like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Like it has a desolation to it, but it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not under the mask of
No,
like,
I get it.
You know,
I get it. What else? You guys watch
dangling
anything else?
keys.
Anything else cool?
I started watching Altered Carbon season 2.
How is it?
Great.
Got it.
It's not as good as season 1, but it's.
We're supposed to have a Halloween movie about like Adam Sandler.
Wait,
I
what?
kind of want to watch it.
I kinda wanna watch-
It looks like Ernest Scared Stupid for
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
for 2020.
I want to see some like cheesy Halloween October, like Halloween Town,
Hocus Pocus.
I want to see some shit like that.
Scooby Doo.
Supposedly now, remember we used to talk about the Curious Creations of Christine McConnell, which is wonderful to put on just any time in the month of October. She just moved from California. She bought a crazy looking house in upstate New York. It looks like a haunted house. It looks like the house from like Haunting of Hill House, you know?
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be streaming on YouTube, I guess her YouTube channel, Halloween stuff all month. So I would say keep an eye out for that because she is the goddess of Halloween.
Do you have any good reading material for October?
Oh, yeah.
What do you got?
Something.
I hear there's a comic.
There's a comic book.
Let's hear
yeah.
about this comic.
Yeah, there's a comic book that's available to get at the end of the month. It's from a small press company, though. So those of you that want to try it, it's a horror anthology. It's just a bunch of grody, just gnarly, messed up stories. And the reason we're plugging it so blatantly is it's my first published comic book work, and I drew one of the stories in it. And I love the story. I thought my story was great. The guy that wrote it wrote like a bang up script.
Give us the back. How did this happen?
Well, it's a dude that owns a shop here in town, actually, and I went in and found out that he had a book through this place, and I was like, I draw, and you obviously have a book, so you got somebody, but I was like, if you ever want a secondary cover, like, here's my stuff. Just, what do you think? And he liked it, so a week or two passed, and he emailed me and goes, hey, it's not going to pay much because small press, but we had our artist back out at the last minute, and I need 8 pages done in like 2 weeks. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, send me the script. So I was just going to do it to get the work, but I loved it, the story. So that's
Can
the big
you give us
thing.
a little
Well,
preview?
the title is Embalming Day. And generally when people hear that and go, it's horror anthology, it's going to be, oh, the corpse is actually alive. So it's not that simple. There's more to it than that, but it's an in-depth, gross, uncomfortable examination of the dissection of a human body.
Drawn by you.
Drawn by me.
Written by another local artist.
Yep. And the ending is what got me. The whole thing, I was like, I love this because it's gnarly and it's delivering. But the ending is what got me, and I'm obviously not going to spoil that here.
So talk to us about how people can get it. Like this is a good note to finish on. You had told me you can order it, but also you could buy it through brick and mortar stores locally.
Mm-hmm. So
give us lay out the options.
Because they're small press, the availability to the brick and mortar stores is going to be real tight. So just go to a local comic shop and ask them for it. And if they can't do it, you can go online. And the thing to do, whichever way you choose to buy it, brick and mortar if you can, please, though, is to go to secondsightpublishing.com, and they'll have a section on the website called SSP Exclusives, I think. You click on that link, and it'll bring up blah, blah, blah presents Harvest of Horror Anthology. It's a big book. It's got a bunch of different stories in it. So just up front, price point is a bit steep. It's $15 for the issue. But, again, the point is... there's a lot to read out of it. It's not just an 8-pager for $15 because that's ridiculous. But it's my published work, finally happening. I've been wanting to draw comics for like 20 years. So, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. But I just encourage you guys to give it a chance. I know the price point is steep. I promise. I know. Man, I paid for it myself, like just to put my money where my mouth is.
If $15 is too much for you to appreciate somebody's art, fuck you.
I appreciate that.
Sorry to be man. Look, back in the day, people used to blow fucking $16, $18 on a CD that cost $200,000-$300,000 to make, and a $200,000 music video. $50,000 worth of gear, 20 years worth of lessons to, you know what I mean? Like, look, man, I get how easy it is on Amazon, and now a lot of people can steal things for free on the internet. We've talked about this. I get it. But man, for somebody's lifelong work, to be able to get a big taste of that, plus all these other cool stories, like $15 shouldn't be a steep price. Come on, man.
So I guess one other thing
I spent $8 on coffee, you turds. Yeah. Come on.
One thing I could do to help plug it a little more, because I know I was vague, and it's because the ending really like blew my mind. So I hope you guys enjoy it. You know, those of you that try it on that level. I don't want to oversell it, but I know we have a bunch of music listeners or music makers that are friends and people that listen to the podcast. There is a very specific classic rock twist to the whole thing.
Oh, cool! That's
layered throughout all of it, and it's kind of there for you to see on page 1.
Is it Kiss? It better be Kiss.
It's kind of there for you to see on page 1.
Okay. It's not Kiss.
It's not
going to be Kiss.
It's going to be like
but it comes full circle at the end. That's part of the ending is the...
He's probably talking about like Foo Fighters.
Slayer.
He probably calls Foo Fighters classic rock.
Yeah, Slayer. Anthrax.
Wait, no. Like Nirvana.
I bet it's Nirvana. Slipknot.
Classic rock.
Classic.
Well, guys, listen. I'm counting on you. If you're a loyal Beacon House listener, I'm counting on you to go pick this up. I can't personally wait to pick it up. I'm going to actually talk to you after the podcast to find out exactly who you'd prefer me to order it through. But I plan on getting it, and I'm super excited about it. Everybody get in there and do this, man. Check it out. It's a big deal. If you've ever seen Hunter draw anything, it's phenomenal. We get to watch it all the time here at the room, at the podcast studio, during band practice.
Horrifying doodles all over.
Well, I'm just saying,
for a
lot of people, it's probably like, oh, Hunter drew another thing like that. But really, it's spectacular. And to see it published, and I can't wait to read the story. You know, support local talent, man. Come on. We've been about that since day one.
You know what? That's right. I tried to be humble about it. Support local talent.
You're spending that a month on Netflix, okay? Order this anthology, you dicks.
There you go.
We love you.
I still probably won't, though.
Oh, my.